What's up, everybody?
Hey.
Welcome back to Word of Mouth. We're here today, gathered together, listening to a artificial intelligence band called The Velvet Sundown.
We're supporting the problem.
Myers is going to make a nice little poll in the Spotify comment section that's going to say, do you or do you not support artificial intelligence music? You're going to answer that.
How could you support
I have a friend named Andy Anderson who has a lot of opinions on this, but unfortunately he has chosen not to come on the podcast.
The music major chimes in, how could you support it? Jacob's back with us today, everybody.
Hi, Jacob.
Give me money.
Woo.
Give him all the money.
Give me money.
I can't remember. Jacob's back.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Jacob.
That's music made by people.
I think there's someone
guys,
else in the room.
Today we are joined by none other than the Bekah Leary.
Back up.
The people watching from home.
So I don't really know if we've had to talk someone into being on the podcast as hard as we have had to with Bekah. So that's been pretty fun. See, Bekah has kind of taken me on an emotional roller coaster ride this week because she had originally was like, see, on Tuesday, she had never listened to the podcast. Tuesday night, she asked about the podcast, and we were like, oh my gosh, can we have you on before you leave town? Where's what does that mean? We're going to talk about today. And then we were like, we got to have you on. And then we got a text yesterday saying, guys, I really don't have to be on. And then we were like, no, like you got to be on. So anyways, we're here live. Bekah, tell everybody who you are, why you exist, anything else of importance, and then we'll get the show on the road.
I got Noivus yesterday.
Noivus.
My name is Bekah, and I'm American, but I'm not from Alabama. I'm from Virginia, but I live in Budapest, Hungary. And if you are faithful followers of the podcast, these three gentlemen recorded an episode about their trip to Budapest. Mm-hmm. And I'm the friend that has lived there for 6 years and doesn't speak Hungarian.
Yes. You speak more than us.
You need a reference.
Hujan kamutanat.
Bochi. Which means?
Excuse me.
Yeah. That's our favorite one because I always be bumping into people on the subway. So
You
I
be
need to know
bumping into
that
people
one.
on that scooter.
For real. Yeah, but Bekah has had a super, let's just say, untraditional American life. And I think it's pretty cool. Tell everybody about it a little bit.
Yeah, so I was born in Virginia, but my parents are missionaries full time. And so when I was 2 years old, we moved to Ukraine. So I've actually spent more of my life in Europe than in the States. When I was 26, It was evenly split. I had spent 13 years in America and 13 years in Europe. And now I've been in Hungary it'll be 8 years in October.
Wow.
So I don't know the count now, but it's tipped. So I lived in Ukraine for 11 years before going to college in America. And then after college, I moved here for a year. And then after that year, I moved to Hungary. And I've been there for almost 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty insane right there. So, like, you're here in America right now. Why?
I'm on sabbatical right now.
Okay. And for the people in the room who don't know what sabbatical is, a.k.a. Jacob, what does sabbatical mean? What is that?
Yeah, so sabbatical, I think it can mean a couple different things. Sometimes, like, professors get it, or people sometimes get it to, like, study something, like finish their PhD or, like, do a big research project. But it can also just be, like, an opportunity to take intentional rest. And I was kind of burnt out, so I needed that rest time.
Wow, that's actually super interesting. Jacob, do a little ChatGPT search for us. What is sabbatical? What is that word? Sabbat.
I was about to say, what is the country of origin?
I know what it means.
Is
the
it
Hebrew
Sabbath?
Word Shabbat.
Is it Shabbat
like
just
to pause.
extended?
Oh,
and then
sick.
a kol would just be like
Shake in Hungarian.
shake. Ikol. Equal.
Wait, I have something crazy to say about
Okay.
words really quick. This morning, he said mishpat, which is a word about that means like the same thing as shalom, like peace and rest and good.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, my dumb brain, it's spelled MISHPOT.
Okay.
And if you switch the O and the I, it's mosh pit. And that's chaos and destruction.
No
They're
way.
the opposite. And I wrote that in my notes and showed it to Katie. And she was like, shut up.
get out of here. I learned something, a word interesting thing this week,
Okay.
which is the word cosmos means order.
Ah.
So it's like when God made the cosmos, he took like everything that was without form and void, and he made order. It's like all the universe is like the beautiful order that he made.
That's fascinating.
What do you think that has to say about Seinfeld with
That's super-
Kramer's name finally being revealed like season 7 or whenever it was, and his name was Cosmos?
Ooh, because he's pretty all
pretty
over the place.
unordered.
He's pretty chaotic.
In order.
Kramer.
In order.
I didn't know he had a name that wasn't Kramer.
Yeah, Cosmo Kramer. Yeah, he finds out somehow like Jerry meets his mom or something like that. He's like, "Where's Cosmo?" And then Jerry was like, "Cosmo." It was like season 8. No one knew that it wasn't that. No one even knew that Kramer like wasn't his first name until that episode. Anyways, there's your daily Seinfeld lore. I'm trying to think if I've figured out any other cool word things. I don't think I have lately.
Mine's not very cool. It's just like complete. It's just stupid.
Mosh pit.
Mishpot is not spelled MISHPOT. I don't think.
I still think that when I was of late age, I was probably 20 years old when I realized that the root word of residence is reside. I still think that's pretty cool.
Reside, residence. One time, my dad got a new. I have
One
to
time?
clear my throat. One time, my dad runs a leather repair business, and his van is like wrapped in the business's like logos and such. And it was supposed to say residential, like he does like commercial, like residential, and they forgot the L when they wrapped it, so it said residencia. And I was like, Dad, why is that one in Spanish? And he was like, "No, they just don't have the L."
I've got one. The root word of question is quest.
Whoa!
Wow.
How do you think that's related to equestrian?
Because you're exploring on a horse.
You're on a journey on a horse, on your royal steed.
That's a
That was today's word segment. All right, so moving on. What do you think shaped your worldview being a child across the globe? I feel like whenever you're here, one thing I'm kind of noticing, or one thing that I've noticed, is everybody kind of thinks the same in Alabama. I don't know if that's the case in Virginia, but everybody kind of thinks the same in Alabama for the most part. But you grew up, in Virginia for how long did you say you were there? 2 years?
12.
Oh, 12 years before you moved to.
Oh, sorry. I was 2 when we moved.
You were
Yeah,
2
sorry.
when you moved. And then
Yeah.
What do you remember from that?
favorite memory from first 2s? I don't think I have a favorite
haven't-
memory.
I don't-
You guys, you could get my appearance on the podcast to
Okay.
follow up Myers, because
Okay.
I also
That's
had
great.
a lot of health complications.
Let's
I was
go.
in the hospital for like a year.
Wow.
That's another story for another time.
Homies.
Wow.
Beginning
Yeah.
of life sucked, homies.
Yeah.
No.
All the scars to show for it.
So then you're
Facts.
3 years old, plane over to Ukraine. Like what? I mean, what was that experience like? What do you think shaped your worldview growing up and as kind of a what is it? What do they call them? Expat in Ukraine.
Yeah. So I'm what some people would call a TCK, which stands for Third Culture Kid, which is someone who has spent a significant portion of their developmental years outside of their passport country. And there's obviously a lot of people like diplomats' kids, business people sometimes, State Department, things like that. So I could talk about this for a long time because I also worked with TCKs for 2 years, and we mostly just talk about like transition and grief and like how people come and go out of your life. But we also talk about like, where is home and who am I and how do I know who to identify with and like what my roots are. So I think there is a bit of disorientation of like, when I was in Ukraine, it was very obvious. It became obvious quickly to people that I'm like not Ukrainian, so I don't belong fully there. And then when I would come back to visit America, it was also like, you're not fully American because you're not living here and you don't get all the like cultural references and stuff.
Yeah.
But do you mean now as an adult, or do you want me to just be like reflective on my childhood?
Yeah. I mean, I guess like now, like, I mean, what is it like? I'd never even heard the phrase TCK till this moment. So what has it been like kind of processing that?
Yeah, and when we are like super annoying snobby TCKs, you guys would be called monocultural people because you like grew up in the one cultural that
We're muggles.
I'm a muggle.
Muggles, yeah, exactly. But I think like I tell people that I feel more comfortable in a room full of people of like different nationalities than I do in a room full of Americans.
Yeah,
because it's just easier for me to like float between different cultures and like I don't know.
What kind of culture do you think you personally identify as?
I don't think I have one.
The other night when we were getting ice cream, I was like, dude, this is pretty crazy right now because we were sitting in Birmingham, a month-ish after we were, in Budapest together. And I was like, isn't this freaking crazy? And you were like, well, I actually probably feel more comfortable here than you feel in Budapest. Because I obviously am American, you're not Hungarian at all. And I was like, and I've been thinking about that ever since you said that on Tuesday. So it's so interesting to me. Like when you're over there and people ask you if you're American, do you feel like you kind of let them down whenever you're not like when you're talking to people of abroad, or do you think that you're enough American for them?
So like when a Hungarian asks me
like what's America
that I'm not like living up to I think so. I was talking with my friends the other day about I have a couple thoughts. One is I like to think that I'm not very American. And usually there's a lot of times in Hungary when I'm the only American in the room. And then I don't like it when another American enters the chat. Because first of all, I'm like, oh crap, I'm actually super American.
Yeah.
Because it's like I see like a mirror of myself. And I'm
interesting.
like, oh, this isn't just like Bekah Leary. This is like being American. And I just don't want. And then the other thing I was talking about with my friends is like, I'm not very patriotic. So like 4th of July is fun because you get good food and fireworks. But
hot dogs.
I'm not like, America, yeah.
Yeah. Dude, this is pretty crazy. Speaking of fireworks, we'll take a brief aside here. Did y'all ever hear about the San Diego fireworks show that happened in, I think it was like 2004 or 2012?
No.
They like alongside, I think there's like some sort of river or like bay in San Diego where down the river there's like a huge fireworks show that lasts like 30 minutes. So there's like 3 separate areas where they like shoot the fireworks off and they're all in unison. It's like 3 simultaneous huge fireworks shows for the whole city. And it's a super patriotic city because the military bases and stuff there. It's a huge, huge fireworks show. And they accidentally set all of them off like at the same exact time. So they literally had they had 30 minutes worth of fireworks explode
at the same time.
At the same exact time, like in unison down, like across like the whole city. And it is freaking like they have like obviously the whole thing was being like a ton of people were about to film it.
Yeah.
So they have like point of views from like a park like literally 30 feet away from it, and it's just like looks like a nuclear bomb just got set off. And then they also have like an aerial view of the entire city, like a weather cam, like think James Spann weather cam. It was genuinely like the most absurd like thing I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, give that a gander.
Wait, I have a firework thing.
Okay.
Fireworks I watched, I was in like north of Georgia-ish. I like went up on, it was like hole 6 on the golf course that they live on. And it's like super uphill. So we went up and sat on the green, and you can kind of see like valley all the way to Blue Ridge.
Oh, cool.
And we saw the like Cummings City Center fireworks, the Blue Ridge City Center fireworks.
No way.
The Dalton ones, all of the like North Georgia cities we could see like all across. So ones that were like right in front of us, and then there's ones that are like miles and miles away, and they look tiny.
That's crazy.
But it was probably like 30 like separate like fireworks shows happening.
That's
It was insane. It was wild.
Well, that's so American.
I mean, I'm like so like yeah, fireworks. Everyone is like fireworks are cool, and then they happen, and everyone's like, fireworks are the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Do y'all like personally buy fireworks before the 4th?
I really like buying and setting off fireworks. I don't. They're very expensive.
I've literally never bought fireworks.
Is it illegal to set your own private fireworks?
No, there is like illegal
I have no
fireworks.
idea.
There's like ones that are illegal that are like really big,
Yeah.
But no, you can buy your own and set your own off all you want.
Because this is
Yeah.
interesting to me, like different countries and cities, what laws they have about setting off your own fireworks.
Yeah, I know that there's some states where it's illegal,
Yeah.
but that's why they're always at the state line. Like I think like in South Carolina they're illegal because there's that like right on the edge of Georgia. There's a huge one, and right in the edge of North Carolina. I just made that drive last week, so I know that it's called Shelton Fireworks. The same one is on both of them. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, that's pretty wild. Myers, have you ever bought fireworks before?
No.
Yeah, wait, that's actually so interesting.
I don't really care for them.
I set off
They're
little
just
tiny ones like bottle rockets and poppers and
They're just
smoke
like
bombs.
loud and annoying.
This is kind of where Myers
Smell
like
bad.
Christmas music takes are about to show up again. So.
I don't think I've ever set off a firework in my life. I'm trying to think.
If somebody told
I
you
don't
they
think I've
didn't
ever-
care for Christmas music, like what would you think, Becca?
I'd say they're living a very sad life. Good grief. That's so sad.
Myers doesn't
I
dislike
love
country,
when this, like,
country
organically
music.
I
gets
think
to
the
come with
problem.
Christmas music.
I think the problem with like what's happened with Christmas music is it's like one song will just get played over and over again. It gets super annoying. I
Bing
get
Crosby.
that. Last Christmas.
Yeah.
That's a great song.
My take is that I don't listen to Christmas music on my own time. Like when I'm driving in the car by myself, I just don't want to listen to like a song I've heard 100,000 times. But I'm not anti-Christmas music. I just think like I don't want to listen to it on my own time.
These are
So-
the kinds of things
Steven turns that
with
into like
Myers.
I
Like
hate
whenever I
Christmas,
can,
blah,
whenever I
blah,
can
blah.
find like one thing that's a like an obvious flaw, like I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna even like
Harp on
I'm gonna take him like even out of proportion and make it even worse.
How-
I'm a bad friend. is
How
what I'm
many
saying.
times? How many times do you think that has been brought up on WOM total?
I'd go 12 for real.
At least a dozen.
I've heard it on my listening. Yeah.
No way.
2 episodes.
So I, I heard a discussion about when you
We
guys
did
start
talk
listening
about
to your Christmas music.
Yeah.
So I used to follow the rule of like after Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
but
Who needs
a couple
rules?
years ago, I started listening to Christmas music like early October,
Wow.
and I was like, "This is crazy."
That's wild.
But I think my theory is it helps me with like seasonal depression.
Hey.
Like it starts getting
Whatever
really
helps.
cold and
Whatever
dark.
helps.
The only redeemable thing about like winter in Hungary is Christmas.
I've heard from someone
It's
who's
just
not.
depressing.
I've heard someone who's not you. Not a. Obviously, you're a Budapest expert.
Yeah.
But I've heard from people that are like European travel people that Budapest Christmas is elite. There's like Christmas markets there everywhere.
Yep.
And it's like known for being like a beautiful wonderland.
I think we have
sick.
won the award of like best winter market, Christmas market a couple of years in a row.
Is it in that?
It's like alongside the river, I think.
Is
There
it
are
in that?
two.
What's that? It's by the river. It's by one of the bridges, and there's like the ceiling or the
big
roof is
tourist
really
market.
pretty.
Oh, it's not inside, it's outside.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it's near there.
So they have one in front of the basilica, but the original one, the
Oh,
big
sick.
cathedral.
Yeah.
But they have one. I don't know if you guys would know, but there's a big open square. There's a fashion street.
Oh yeah,
by
we went to
Deák,
Fashion
and then if
Street.
you walk down
Yeah.
that street, there's like a Bershka and an H&M and a
Yes.
I went.
the,
I bought a shirt at
Hard
that
Rock
H&M.
Cafe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
there.
It's
That's where
there.
the Christmas
Yeah.
market is. Yeah.
That's
Hero
so
Square, isn't that what it's called? No,
No, that's not
different
Hero
area.
Square.
I went.
H&M
I
was
went.
It's
sick.
called Vörösmarty.
Vüdishmarty. Goodness gracious. Okay.
So, Becca, growing up, being a missionary kid, did you know that when you were older, you wanted to follow in your parents' footsteps and be a missionary as well?
That's a good question. No, I didn't actually. It wasn't until the year I lived in Alabama that I decided to go overseas because I really liked what I studied in college, and I was like, I'm gonna do something real and make a name for myself. I'm gonna do something really
what
impressive.
did you study?
I'm gonna do something really impressive, like make no money and go be an ethnographer in Cameroon. No, I studied youth development, and I minored in global studies and education.
Cool.
And I was really interested in like child development and quality of education in developing countries.
TCKs.
No,
Okay, that sounds like something. you
no,
could
I
do.
was interested in like countries that they like think women shouldn't get an education and like working against that,
Right.
That's kind of
or like
that's actually
helping
pretty
kids
freaking cool.
who have been living in a refugee camp for like 12 years.
Okay, so
get
this
an
is
education.
remind me. Did you like live in America at all before college?
Yeah.
Like for a good bit of high school, all right? Or
No. So, well, this is the other thing I was going to say about being a TCK. This is kind of a side comment from
Okay.
the question. But so I lived in Ukraine from age 12 to 18.
Okay.
And I think one of the things I've reflected on is like, I don't know a lot of the basic things that you like learn in high school, like how to drive a car. I didn't get my driver's license till before my 23rd birthday, like a few days before my 23rd.
So the whole time you were in college, you didn't. So you went to college like when you were 18, though, right?
No, maybe it was a couple days before my 21st birthday because
Okay.
I started driving my sophomore year of college.
Okay.
And I took driving lessons in college. Wow. And my friends were making fun of me because they would like see the guy come and he had to pick me up from my dorm.
Yeah.
The driving school teacher.
That's crazy. That's
hilarious.
honestly so fascinating. The people I stayed with for the 4th, Ella Hill, her youngest.
Shout out Sam. What's up, Sam Hill? Love you, man.
Her youngest brother, Sam Hill, turned 16 2 days ago.
Oh wow! Happy birthday, Sam.
Yeah, for real. He got a sick 08 4Runner. It's like on some big old lifts, but getting
bud.
It like just made me remember the like day I turned 16. I got my license, and the like feeling of like I guess this is like a pretty American thing because like 16 is the age here and da da da. But the feeling of like freedom of driving yourself places is like life changing, and like that's so interesting that you had that at 21 and not because like we literally all went and we ordered in Mexican food, and he drove and got Taco Bell for himself, like just so he could go get his own
to
food.
Get in the car
because like he wanted
drive.
to drive. And I was like, I would have done the exact same thing as a 16-year-old
kid.
Dude, I bet that Taco Bell tasted
Amazing.
absolutely amazing.
Amazing.
Because that was autonomous Taco
You
Bell.
can blast music by yourself in your car.
The first time I drove when I turned 16, I had a 2002 Buick LeSabre, the grandma car of all grandma cars.
Michael Scott.
I had, like, you best believe, before I turned 16, I had already put like 8 stickers on the back window too, because I had the car ready. And I was driving into the parking lot because that's where all my buddies hung out in high school, and I nailed the curve in front of all of them. I also turned 16 like an entire year after like some of the guys in my grade. I was like that age, and I was like, I was playing Fight Night by Migos. I just nailed the curve. It's like a core memory of embarrassment.
That's like a thing at high school too. You have like roll up songs.
Yep.
Everyone has like the song they roll up playing.
Yeah. Okay, so anyways, let's get back to college. I really did want to talk about this part specifically because this had to be, or I'm assuming this had to be crazy. But you like literally got on a plane and went to college on the other side of Earth. Yeah. That is very different than the majority of people's I mean, obviously going off to college is like a big deal. Like obviously Myers had like a 4-hour drive whenever he went. But the idea of like packing for a dorm on a plane and then going, also you got into UVA, which is like a pretty hard school to get into as well. So, but you probably didn't have like a frame of reference to like understand that was even like cool or like anything either. So anyways, I just have I have so much fascination with this part of your life. So you like, was there any time that you spent in America that summer before? Like walk us through that experience. Like how did you even figure out you wanted to go to college in America? Why'd you go to Virginia? Yada, yada, yada. Yeah.
So when we moved to Ukraine when I was 12, it's confusing because we lived in Ukraine when I was little. Then we came back to the States for 6 years. Okay. Then we moved back to Ukraine when I was 12 and lived there. I lived there for the next 7 years. But we visited every summer. Okay. So I went to a Christian summer camp in Pennsylvania, and I visited like my grandparents and stuff. And I was born in Virginia, so I have in-state residency there. And I'm also the youngest of 5 kids. So I'm actually the 4th of the 5 of us to go to UVA. So it wasn't crazy. So I wanted to go to an Ivy League.
Yeah, you did.
I think I look back on how stressed well, maybe you guys weren't, but like the whole like where are you going to college thing.
Yes.
Was so, and the ACT and the SAT, I'm just like, wow, I love having that perspective now. Like
ACT score check?
Like what, 12 years out from that stress.
What'd you get on the ACT?
Flex. Go ahead, flex for us.
I don't remember. I think I got like a 27 or 28. But like 32 is like the high. 36. Yeah. No, I didn't do well. Guys, I took the SAT twice. I did worse the second time.
Wow.
So I was like, my score's okay. It would be great to get a better score. And then, yeah, that was a sad day. I remember that.
You know, they took the science section off of the ACT.
What?
It's
When?
not.
Yeah.
It's not on the ACT anymore. And you can take Super Score. That probably was there when you guys took the ACT.
Yeah.
But you can take individual tests now. So you
That's
can
a
sign up
joke.
and go take the math. And then that's your score for your Super Score.
That's insane.
Isn't that crazy? Kids are so damn stupid now.
I was talking I was talking to somebody
That
that
is crazy. Actually, I'm gonna. This is not on topic, but that's crazy.
Insane.
All right.
I mean, this is also another topic, but I heard they're like moving away from standardized tests.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so I was talking with someone about their kids going to college, and they were saying how kids get really important emails that probably the parents should get. Like a 17-year-old should not get that email.
100%.
So when I applied to UVA, because it's easier to get in when you're in state,
Sure.
the acceptance rate is higher. But I got an email that they were like questioning my state residency because I was living in Ukraine, and I just like didn't answer it. And then this is like an embarrassing thing to admit on a podcast, but I applied early decision and I got deferred. So I didn't get it in right away.
Oh, okay.
And then I told my dad I was deferred, and my dad's like obsessed with UVA sports and everything. And he was like, "You're going to UVA." And then he and I found out I told him like, "Oh, I got this weird email." Oh, and he was like, "God, that's like really important." So that was a sad day also in my high school memories. But
Oh, wow.
part of growing up in Ukraine. He was able to fix it. He like emailed them a bunch of like records to prove that I should be in state.
That's good.
Gotcha.
But I went to a really, really tiny high school. I had 9 people in my graduating class.
Whoa.
Wow.
Okay.
And it's like everybody knew everyone and their parents and their cousins. And so the transition to like a big public state school was pretty intense.
I could imagine. So what was it like? I mean, zoom in more there. Like, when did you get to, like, were you at home that whole summer before you went?
Yeah, I think my family came back to the States like in May or June. So I had
Okay.
like the summer to kind of acclimate. And then I think my mom and I like went to Bed Bath and Beyond and
Yeah, you
followed
did.
the little college dorm shopping list.
Did you would you have any siblings there when you went, when you were a freshman?
Yeah, my sister was a senior when I was a freshman.
Oh, okay.
So she was also there. And then like I went to one of those like I think Sanford does this. I went to like a
Orientation.
that's
Yeah.
like 2 weeks before you actually
Yeah,
go
yeah.
there. And I remember at orientation, I was like so overwhelmed because I was like, I am a tiny fish in a huge ocean. Like I remember walking into the dining hall and seeing like the line of people to get food. And I was like, this is like a small percentage of my class. These people I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I like I like ran for president of my year student council, which is just really funny now because so the other thing about college is like, so I was like, how do you say this? I mean, the expression is like big woman on campus, but I was like really known at my high school, and like you get to college freshman year and it's like everyone did the same things to get into the college that they got into.
Sure.
Like, they were all captain of their soccer team. They were all like salutatorian.
Yeah.
They were all in National Honor Society. So it's very humbling to be a freshman and be like, nobody gives a crap.
You're just
what
like
you
knocked.
accomplished in
You're
high
like
school.
working for social everything all the way up till senior year, and you're just knocked right back down, becoming a freshman, and do the same thing again.
I was
Yeah.
like, I played soccer since I was 6 years old, and
Let's
I was
go.
like captain senior year, played like center mid. And so I was like, I'm pretty good at soccer. And then I went and I played one intramural game at UVA and just got like totally like crushed by everyone and like never went back. I was like, okay, different comparison, different playing fields.
Yeah, I feel like in Virginia too, they're like super good at soccer. But yeah, when you got there, at what point did you kind of like come to understand like, oh, I like live fully in America now? Like, also when you went to school at Virginia, did you do summers in Ukraine? I guess that wouldn't make any
No.
sense. So you literally just like came back and you were like straight up multiple years, never went back.
Yeah. I went back like the first or second Christmas to visit my parents.
Okay.
But also my parents moved to Hungary when I went to college. So I actually
okay.
like never had my home back in Ukraine after I left. We all
No
left
way.
at the same
Whoa.
time. So then I visited my parents in Hungary, and that was weird because that's not where I grew up.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
that's
anyone there.
crazy.
They live in Budapest.
Yeah,
Budapest.
outside. They live near the school, so like not
Oh, okay.
like in the city.
Goodaloo.
I get so mad at like kids that grew up in that suburb. So like the place where all the expat families live is like an hour from the city, and now I like to give them a hard time. Like, you didn't grow up in Budapest. You grew up. It's like saying you grew up in Birmingham, but you grew up in Gardendale or something.
Yeah, freaking
Right.
Okay.
frick those
Definitely the
people.
same.
Is it like that? I don't
15
know.
minutes
Minutes away. It's like saying
No,
you
it's
grew up
definitely the same.
in Birmingham and you grew up in Oxford.
Yeah. Or
Sorry,
like
Fraser.
Trussville. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like
Pell City.
it'd be like they would be like telling someone who went to Parker, like, we had the same childhood. It's like, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
You went to Gardendale.
Wait, so like Greek life and friendship and church and community, like I'm so fascinated. Like if I went to the first year we met that girl who sang at Danube, who was she was an exchange student there, and she was like, "Oh, you should go to school here. It's so cheap." Rada rada, and she was American, and I think her parents were missionaries, maybe. And
the
she
girl
was.
from Austin.
Do you remember who I'm talking about?
first year?
She
Yeah.
went to not Simpla. She went to Lumen with us.
She went to
after.
Arkansas for undergrad, and then
Yes.
she was out there for a year, I think.
Was she studying in Hungary or
Yeah.
working?
Well, she was like doing a year abroad in.
I'm pretty sure she was studying at the engineering school.
Yeah.
I forgot what it's called.
But all that to say, if I went to school there, I'd be like, what the heck is going on? I'd be like, everything is so different.
in Hungary.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
anywhere that's not.
I mean, I'm
where
sure
I
I'd
grew
be
up.
like, oh, this is a cool vibe. But I would definitely be like, oh my gosh, all my friends are like, raging in ATO at Auburn right now.
Yeah.
And I'm in Hungary. Like,
I
did
mean,
you
if I
have
went
any
to school in
experiences like that?
California, I'd feel like out of place. So
Yeah.
I'm so curious, like, what was it like making friends and like all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't really know how different my first year at UVA. They're called first years. We don't say freshmen.
First year.
I don't know how mine compares. I mean, obviously it compares to other people, but at the same time, it's like college is a transition for anyone.
It's just like hard.
Like living in a dorm is a new experience, and like, I didn't participate in Greek life. I had like no interest in that. Also, probably couldn't afford it. But I think like we had campus ministries the first week of school. They have like a bunch of parties. Like every campus ministry has a big party, like InterVarsity, Chi Alpha, Crew, which is what I ended up joining. So in some ways, I'm like, oh, okay, I remember this about my freshman year. I was definitely like the girl that grew up in Ukraine. Like that's what I was known for. And my friends laughed that I didn't know how to drive a car, and they were like, which pedal is the gas and which one's the brake? And I like hesitated, and they
You
just
were
all
like,
laughed
I'm
at me.
crying.
Or they were like, say the Pledge of Allegiance now. And I
Wow.
like couldn't do it. And so I think for a while it was like, I do remember this. I capitalized on like being the weird girl from Ukraine because it made me like interesting to people.
Sure.
But then I remember when I reached a point that I was like, I don't want this to be the only thing I'm known for, because there's like a
Yeah.
lot more to me than just like.
Yeah,
the
I'm
fact
going to
that
freaking. I can say the Pledge of Allegiance in my sleep now.
Yeah. I started like studying U.S. history. No, I didn't.
I like don't know the national anthem.
Dude, we went to say the Pledge of Allegiance on July 4th, which, by the way, crazy family tradition. I don't know why we do that. It's insane.
That's
Myers got to
ridiculous.
experience it this year for the first time because he came to the lake with my family. Actually, my family and Myers' family went to the lake together this year. It was delightful.
That is so funny.
And my mom was like, Steven, should we do it? And I was like,
no.
They were saying America
she's
the
like,
Beautiful.
We did.
Do you
It
ever
was
pledge?
very liturgical.
For spacious. Why is it for spacious skies? What does for spacious mean?
Yep.
We have lots of room because everything's bigger.
Yeah,
Did you have you ever pledged to the Christian flag?
Yeah,
Is there a Christian flag?
There's some
talks about
American
that.
nationalism for you.
No.
This
So,
weekend,
Christian
whenever I was
nationalism.
on Lake Martin, we passed Bruce Pearl's lake house,
Who
the
is-
head coach of the Auburn basketball team.
Oh, that's
Ah,
And he had a
nice.
ginormous Israel flag flying
Ah.
on his lawn.
Bruce Pearl.
Also, this is another thing. Speaking of this, so I'm going to show my just how stupid kids that grow up in Birmingham are about this kinds of things. Maybe not all of Birmingham, because as we've said earlier, I didn't grow up in Birmingham. I grew up in Gardendale. But maybe Gardendale kids, and I think a lot of suburban kids in Birmingham would be able to relate to this. I think before the Ukraine-Russia war, I really don't know if I had thought very much about Ukraine. Like I knew, I had to know Ukraine existed because of like European tests and quizzes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like, especially growing up, I mean, like I knew that like Paris and London and stuff like that, but altogether I wasn't too interested in European culture at all until probably my parents like kind of like more or less like, I don't want to say made me, but they like highly encouraged me to go to London spring break my freshman year of college. And that was whenever I was like, I get it now. Yeah. I love Europe.
I knew as much about Ukraine as I did like Nepal.
Yeah.
It was just like a place that I knew existed.
Yeah, and I knew that like Borat existed. I knew that Eastern Europe or whatever. And I think that besides like Paris and France. So anyways, I'm curious like what your experience was whenever you got to Virginia and people had like whenever you told people you're from Ukraine, what was that the general consensus? Did people know very much about Ukraine? Or was it like similar to that? Or am I just dumb?
No, I think in general people didn't know much about Ukraine. It's also interesting that literally January of my first year of college, a revolution happened in Kyiv.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
2013.
Okay.
So like, wait, no.
Because
it was January 2014.
2014, yeah. I was in Ukraine 2013.
I forgot you've been to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
So
that's
to
sick.
flex.
Yeah,
when
Myers knows
Steven
about
and
Ukraine.
Jacob didn't know anything about Ukraine. Yeah, we went on a mission trip for 2 months. in
When was
Ukraine.
that?
In 2013.
Like what?
2 months.
Like, it would have been the beginning because I remember my birthday in March was there.
2 months is a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
wild.
So we're
Did
there.
you
2
know that
months
a
in Budapest?
political revolution happened after you left?
We saw videos of like, here's this cafe where we had lunch with this guy, and here's the statue that they're tearing down, and there are like things on fire. We saw videos like that when we got back, and I remember avoiding certain parts of town because there would be protests and things going on
Oh wow.
while we were there, and that was 2013. So
Yeah.
the year before, like.
Do you want to tell everybody about your potty experience? Was that in Ukraine or was that in South Africa?
The worst bathroom experience
Potty
I've ever had.
experience.
So we, so a lot
Poop talk.
a lot of the roads in between big cities in Ukraine are really not very well kept, to the point where there would be sections where you would be driving and the potholes were so big that you would go out into the field to go around them to come back onto the road because they might be literally the size of like a car.
Do you remember this?
That tracks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we went
What if
down
she was
to.
like, they're pristine?
So we were going from Ismail to Odessa.
It's
and
Israel.
we drove through Moldova on the way. So it was a long, probably.
Moldova is a country.
It is.
Yep.
Huh.
Ukraine kind of wraps around it a little bit. So we went through Moldova back over to Ukraine.
So they weren't
Where
technically
is Israel?
all
I don't
Ukrainian
know.
roads.
It's on the what's the big sea that's on the east
Is it a
coast?
city in Ukraine?
It's a
The
tiny
Black
little
Sea.
village.
Okay, we
I
talked
think
about
it's
this.
the Black
Yeah.
Sea. It's across from Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
So we were driving from there back to
GeoGuessr
Odessa.
Pro. I knew it's the Black Sea.
And I really had to go to the bathroom, and I was like 13 years old, and we were just in this van, my whole family.
By the way, Myers has absurd bowel movements on a regular basis.
I just go to the bathroom regularly, and I'll refer back to my parents' episode if you want to know why.
Thanks for the context.
Anyways, so I really had to go to the bathroom, and then we were just in the middle of nowhere. So the first bathroom we found, I went, and it was a gas station, like as soon as you entered this small village. And there were pumps right here, and then there were these stalls over here, and there were no doors on them.
And it's a hole in the ground.
And it was a hole in the ground.
Yep.
So I get out of the van, and I just
It's
walk
like in the
over.
parking lot.
In the parking lot.
It's not like inside.
It's like you know when
No
you go to an
doors.
American gas station and there's like
there was 3 walls though.
there were 3 walls. Yeah.
Okay.
So
There
in,
was
in an
ceiling?
American gas station when there's like the tire air pump things that's
Yeah.
just like off to the side. That's where the bathroom was. So it's just facing the pumps. And so my mom like goes and like stands in front of the
Goat.
the hole so that I have some privacy. and I
This
dropped
was my
trowel.
childhood. This
I
is
dropped
not
trowel
like
and-
shocking me at
and
all.
pooped in a hole. That's my story for the worst bathroom experience I've ever had.
Wow.
Is that.
So most schools, like in Ukraine, when you go into the bathroom, it's just that. It's stalls with just the divider between the stalls.
Yeah.
There's
Wow.
no door to like for privacy, and it's a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
That's like
Saves
normal
money.
Does
thing.
that speak to like like nudity being more common, or they just
But
don't
I
want
can
to put
understand
doors?
how for you that was
Yeah, for
like
12-year-old
crazy.
Myers who
Yeah.
never. I had pooped
Yeah.
in a hole in Africa before, but it was enclosed.
Yeah,
I had some
yeah.
privacy.
No, I remember going to like the soccer stadium for like the national team, and going in the bathroom.
One of the crazy
Wow.
things too was the so they had like a World War II museum that was like up on the hill. I think it was in either Kiev or Odessa. I don't remember where. It now doesn't exist apparently because it was blown up. But it's super, super nice museum, as most national museums are in countries. And it had this huge bathroom with like marble floors. And you walked into the stalls that did have doors, and there were these porcelain squatty potties. And that also blew my mind because I was like, this bathroom is really nice, and they're still making you like squat.
It's
They
like
don't-
fancy but communist.
Yes.
Still.
Yeah. That was
so
crazy
funny.
to me. Anyway, there's our bathroom segment.
Wow. I remember one time, Andrew Sink, we might have talked about this on the podcast before. Andrew Sink, shout out to him. He's on episode, I think, like 8.
Literally,
if you
like
really want to go
4,
way into
yeah.
the archives. Andrew is a good buddy of ours. We were in Cuba, and he went to go. I think we were in Cuba. We were in Cuba or Dominican Republic. And he, like, the food in this specific trip was really, it just made you have some caliente poops. And it was crazy. Like, it hit him whenever he was in one of the houses, and he went out to the house for, he was like, "Donde baño?" And they were like, "Oh, over there." And then he went out, and there was also not a front door, and it was just a hole in the ground. Yeah, he was having like explosive diarrhea, and these kids came outside with rocks. And the kids, like, literally think like 4 to 6 year olds. It's like dudes like started laughing at him because he was like struggling, and they threw rocks at him.
Gosh, dude, that's like when we
Brutal.
It was me, you, Wit, Sam, and Sadie, I think, in Cuba. We got to this house and it was like an outhouse. It was like a door with like hinges, and it was like a It was like a toilet seat.
It was so hot.
But it was so hot, and you like looking at the toilet. It's like, oh, it's cool. And you lean in, and the inside of the bowl is this bullfrog that's like
genuinely the size of like
And
a
it's like-
textbook. It just plopped right on the poop. Just the pile
Oh,
of
there's a
poop
frog
water.
in the
massive.
toilet bowl.
It was
bullfrog
ginormous.
in the
Oh,
toilet
gosh.
bowl. It was
All right, so anyways,
crazy.
there's our poop talk of the day. So, okay, I am very, very fascinated by this transition into college still. So you go there and you have, you're kind of known as the Ukrainian girl, and then where we kind of took our little exit ramp right there, you were talking about how you stopped being the Ukrainian girl. So what was that process like? And then what was it like becoming your autonomous, I don't know if you weren't the Ukrainian girl. What kind of, you were just the autonomous Bekah girl. What was that like?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if I could. I think part of it was just like I stopped making jokes about my ignorance about America and like growing up in Ukraine, and I just started to try to like share more of parts of myself that wasn't related to the fact that I grew up in Ukraine. Just so that like people would know me as a different person and like take me more seriously, not make fun of me. Like, it's not like my friends were like mean, but that was just like the kind of thing
That was the bit.
That was the bit, yeah. But I think there's a lot of like when you have lived somewhere away for so long and then you come back, you don't really know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny that I lived in the States from age 6 to 12, and I like watched Disney Channel and Cartoon Network.
Mm-hmm.
But then I left again. So then there's like this huge gap of like shows that I don't know, like Wizards of Waverly Place, and like anything that was like that's the show that I mark as like, I missed that, and then anything that came after that. But I could talk to you about like Lizzie McGuire and That's So Raven and
Cheetah Girls.
Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah.
Cheetah Girls, only the first one though, not the second and third Cheetah Girls.
Johnny Tsunami.
in my laboratory.
But I think it's also like when I'm in.
That show.
It's a really good show. Wait, what's the show with Mojo? I think it's the powder. Is it the Powder Puff Girls?
Oh yeah.
Is it
Wait,
Mojo?
what is Mojo?
Like the bad
Sugar,
guy?
spice. Myers has no idea what we're talking about.
I know all of the names of the shows, but I didn't watch.
I think
really
we
any of
should do
them.
an episode that's like.
Just
Did
old
you
shows.
did you grow up overseas or were you just homeschooled?
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, when we had the Budapest episode, you listened to it, so you know. But we talked
Yeah.
about like what's Budapest and what's not.
Yeah, that was
Birmingham.
like my favorite thing. I'm
Yeah.
glad you guys had the awareness of like
We
just
tried.
it's like
we
Budapest,
tried.
just because it's not
tried.
just because it's not Budapest, not Birmingham, doesn't mean it's like
Budapest.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
specifically.
I texted Vincent about it and it literally was like I'll show you the text. I said that exact thing.
Wow.
I was like, yeah. Anyway,
Shout out Vincent. You know he's gonna be listening. I miss you so much.
Vinny.
I'm so excited
So-
that your thing got approved, Vinny. Can't wait to see you next year.
So when do you graduate college? Do you start working professional world, or do you immediately go to be missionary?
so after college I moved to Birmingham,
missionary.
Alabama.
I think that
Um,
as I've gotten to know you over the past 2.5 years, this part right here is by far the craziest thing that happened in your life. You ended up in Birmingham,
Yeah,
Alabama,
I-
after all that.
I think that transition is more interesting than any of the other ones. Yeah, I joke that like I had more culture shock coming to Alabama than I did like coming back to the States for college.
There's thick culture
It's
here.
another
It is
place. It's I feel like being in Alabama, and I don't know how probably someone who like grew up in California or New York or Ohio, if they moved to Alabama, they would experience some of those things. But
Sure. Probably not Ohio
I
because it's
think-
not real, but the rest of them, yeah.
it doesn't exist. I think being here in the South is where I felt the most like I did not grow up in America.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever I say now is going to be very unpopular in this room. This room, like
Go
I
ahead.
don't care
Let
about
her rip.
football. That's the thing.
I don't either.
Oh my God!
I like don't care about football at all. And so like coming to Alabama, obviously,
Who's your team?
that's a big.
Did you
part.
ever
Who's your
go
team?
to one of the games?
Here?
Yeah.
No.
Or did you go to a game in Virginia?
I went to like the first game my freshman year, and I was like, I'm good.
Wow.
Wow.
Do you like fishing?
And my dad was sad. My dad was like, I failed as a parent because you don't go to the football games.
Sorry, Dad.
I don't fish. I've never shot a gun. I don't know how to shoot a gun.
That's actually not that surprising. I feel like of everyone in the world, it's definitely like smaller percentage of people have shot a gun versus haven't. Yeah?
Probably. Yeah.
I don't know.
How long did you live in
Probably
Birmingham?
50-50.
I don't think I've ever held a gun in my hands. Does anyone have one?
Wow.
Yeah.
Does
One
anyone
second.
conceal carry
Let
in
me
their
go.
gym shorts?
Let me go get my F-150 real quick.
Actually, this was interesting too. I went to Germany once. I've been there a few times, but one time I was in Germany.
What does this have to do with guns?
I'm gonna tell you. I said, "What's the biggest like stereotype about Americans?" And they were like, "Oh, they all have a lot of guns."
That's what
Wow.
Yul said also.
And I didn't know that was such a big thing.
Wow.
But it is.
Steven has a lot of guns.
Steven loves guns. It's
This is
his
a
most
crazy.
American
This is a
trait.
crazy conversation.
Wait,
I don't own any guns.
So Steven does
And I
the Christmas
dislike
thing
guns
to me,
heavily.
and then we do the gun thing to him.
What is
One is a political take and one is not.
could be. What is
Yes, being anti-Christmas is quite political.
what is the thing about Birmingham that you were like, what the hell is going on? Like, what is the thing that you were like, genuinely, I am like befuddled? Or just South in general. Doesn't have to be Birmingham. You don't have to say like Randy
No,
Scott's.
I mean, it's a good question.
Collard greens.
The football thing is a big thing. Like,
Yeah.
I stayed with a family my first few months here.
Yeah.
It didn't end well. But like I stayed with a family and like, you know, all their license plate is Alabama and their like Wi-Fi password is like
Roll
in
Tide.
Bama
Saban We
Tide.
Trust and like I don't know, like their password was probably Roll Tide or something.
She stayed with Shane.
Yeah, it was my parents.
No, but also like
It didn't
like
well.
I think some people here get into like weird like Lucky Charm things and like get really like what's the word superstitious on like game days.
Yeah.
And like it's like don't be around the husband of that family if his team doesn't win. Like he's gonna have a bad day. And like
That's so weird.
my first night in Alabama, I went to a restaurant with my host family and we had like shrimp and grits. And I was like, all right, I'm in the South.
Wow.
I also
awesome.
just think people here, some people here love it here, which is awesome. But they kind of, it's funny because like people would make jokes like all roads lead to Birmingham, like, all roads lead to Alabama. Like we're like the best place in the world. And I was like, you're kind of joking, but I think you really feel that way. Like,
I mean, I can 100% resonate with that feeling.
But I want to say that since I've left Birmingham, I defend it so much. Like when people say,
I love that.
talk crap about, are we allowed to curse on this podcast?
Yep.
When people talk, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I like get really excited.
If you want.
I could say
You give me
Stupid.
permission. I'm just like,
Crap.
No. When people talk badly about Alabama, I'm like, have you ever been there? Like, it's really cool. You should try it sometime.
we kind
Don't knock it till you tried it.
I feel like
You
it's
say, "Oh, Alabama stinks." That's crazy. It's an arbitrary border that you actually agree with. So you actually created Alabama in your mind.
I feel like also it's so like early internet, like 2003 to 2010, for like Alabama to be the butt of every joke. I feel like that's kind of like that has become less and less.
Yeah, it's pretty millennial to joke about incest.
Yeah,
That's not really. That's not. Anyways,
the other thing
So
I
you
have a
moved to
hard
Alabama?
time here is people can be kind of indirect. Like everyone is.
what do you mean?
Yeah, you wouldn't know anything about that. No, people are just like really nice, and then sometimes I'm like, I have a hard time with it because in Eastern Europe, people are super direct.
Yeah.
And you just say what's on your mind, and you're blunt, and it can.
I do not like your haircut.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can come across like really, really rude, but here's like the opposite, where it's like you would never be rude, but it's like, tell me what you
like
really want to
fake,
say.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just
It
tell
is
me.
refreshing, honestly, to meet direct people here.
How often do you interact with how often would you say being here, like while you're on sabbatical or whatever it may be, you're like, but what do you really think? Like how often does that thought cross your mind? Because I have that like here and there, but probably not as much as you do.
I mean, I guess there's degrees to it because part of it is like when you actually need to have a serious conversation or you need to have like conflict resolution and you're like, you're not saying what you really want to say because you're trying so hard to be nice. That happens more rarely. But what happens a lot is just like, I'm not used to how friendly everyone is. And so like, it's really funny. Like I went hiking at Oak Mountain yesterday and I like don't know what the protocol is when I pass a stranger.
I'll reenact it for you in a second.
And I probably come across as like a bitch because I just like don't look at people. I don't look at them in the eye. I don't like.
Yeah.
I would never think to like greet a stranger because they're a stranger to me.
No point.
Yeah.
We actually,
But
me and Myers have a very fascinating statistic that we keep in this in every single place that we run in. It's called the wave back percentage.
Yeah.
And when we're on runs, we wave at every single person.
Or
and
say like good morning or just some kind of acknowledgement.
Budapest, I think we literally was like one wave back of like, I think we probably waved at 100 people on our runs.
Dude, yeah, no one cares.
But like we don't wave at like random people. We wave
That's
at other people
runners.
like on the
Yeah,
trail.
or other people on the trail.
I feel like yes, I think that I will level with people to be like, if you wave at every single person on the street and you're in a populated area, it's like this is
Weird.
kind of odd.
Yeah.
But if there's like a common ground, it's like and
You're running, I'm running.
for
Like,
me, it's like if I know the person at all, I'm going to wave at them. Like if it doesn't matter if I'm like homies with them or not. Like if I've ever met them in my entire
if I
life,
know
I'll be
someone
like, "What's up, man?"
if I know someone goes to Sanford and I pass them on Jemison, I'll pop a wave.
Yeah.
And also, I would say specifically at a place like Oak Mountain, probably 1 in 10 of the people you pass, if you like struck up a conversation, they'd stop and have it with you.
Oh yeah,
For
especially
like
in
30 minutes.
out in nature.
Dude,
Bro.
a guy came up to me. This is actually a perfect example of what you're talking about. I was getting gas in Gardendale. I bought a 1991 Geo Metro for cut that part out because I want to sell it for more than that. But I bought a 1991 Geo Metro, and
We'll talk about it later.
I'll talk about it later. And I was parked at a gas station in Gardendale, or in Mount Olive technically, and a guy parked his like work truck on the pump next to me, and I was like, "Where'd you get that little car?" And I was like, "Drove it from Tennessee, man. Bought it up there, drove it down here." And he was like, "Oh," or something, like made some noise. He was like, "What is that little thing?" I was like, "It's a Geo Metro. It's a 91." And he was like, "Oh, that thing's fun." That's fun. He didn't have any teeth, and I was like, and he was like, I told him what I paid for it, and he was like, "I'll give you money back right now." And I was like, "Really?" And he was like, "I'd give you 200 more." And I was like, "If you give me this much, I'd talk to you about it." He was like, "Man, I put me a little boombox in the back. I play some music. All the people at work are playing this boom bap loud music with a bunch of cussing. You can't understand them. I want to hear some Leonard Skinner." So I was like, "Okay." Like, okay. And then I was like, "All right, good to see you." I was just a person I've never met in my life. And then
Yesterday, I was sitting. This is whenever I was at my aunt and uncle's house, and there was like it was like a dock that people shared in their neighborhood, and we parked our pontoon boat and got out, and then there was this couple with like 3 dogs. The dogs were so happy to go be getting out on the boat. They were walking out to their boat. The dogs like ran up to us, like, you know, played around with us, and then ran onto the dock. And I looked at the woman and I said, "I hope you all have as much fun as they do." She looked at me and she said, "There's no way." And walked on, and I was like,
I love this sound.
in those moments, I'm like, yeah, Alabama's pretty nice. But especially in comparison, like, I don't know, like, but there is a level of like indirectness and like rudeness. I think is like a more direct way of saying indirect. There's a more like rude way of people like kind of keeping this like shallowness to it. And I think that it's so interesting whenever you go to Budapest, and then like there's the one premier example is somebody, like, I think Jacob literally asked one of the dudes, like the more Hungarian high schoolers that we like met, like, "Hey dude, you like my haircut?" And he was like, "No." And he's like, "What? Like, you don't like?" And he's like, "What do you want me to say? Like, do you want me to just tell you I like it just to like tell you what you want to hear?" And like that is like quintessentially, like, I feel like the opposite of people here.
Yeah.
It's like I would never tell someone if they asked me a question,
"Your haircut sucks."
I think that is them communicating to me, "I am insecure, help my insecurity."
Yeah.
And I wouldn't, but I guess like the best way to help it would be to be like,
"It sucks."
"No, it sucks for real. You're right.
Yeah.
Your insecurity is like true." But I don't know. It is just like so different. So
also the hiking, when you hike past someone at a place like Oak Mountain, you go, "Hi."
Yeah, I know what you're talking. I know the TikTok you're talking about.
Hi.
No, so basically, when I like see someone approaching, I just like wait to see what they're gonna do, and then I just try to like respond.
Yeah,
but
you're
if we
mirroring.
both do nothing, I'm fine with that as well.
in New York City, it was surprisingly higher than we thought it was going to be.
It was like 40 or 50%.
Yeah.
Back.
Raleigh,
Wow.
Surprising.
Raleigh, it was like it was the same as New York and Raleigh. I'll be honest.
Dude, Jameson, you're hitting
Jameson,
like
90%.
Yeah. Great. Everyone is like,
Especially when you pass other runners, they do like this like 3-finger like
Jeep
like little
wave.
Jeep wave, and it's like when you pass other, when I'm saying by runners, I'm talking about like dudes that you know are like having the death like part of their run. You know that they're actually out there, like you're just like, it's the least amount of thing, but you want to be like, "Let's go, man, let's keep it going." That's how I interpreted it, at least.
you know, we need to put that on the America slideshow. Jeep wave. That's a
Jeep
good,
wave.
weird.
That's a great
American
one.
culture
Rubber
thing.
duckies. I don't
Yeah.
even know how to explain that. But
Why do they do that?
yeah. Okay. I let's talk more about Birmingham, but in terms of comparison. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So to revisit the Birmingham
Yes.
versus
Yeah.
Budapest. Okay.
Did you listen to all the way at the end of that
I
episode?
think so. I saw the little game show.
The Nashville thing?
I don't know. Maybe not. No. Maybe not.
What were the topics that we did? Do you remember, Jacob?
You did
Public
public
transport.
Uh-huh.
Food, coffee, hospitality, and something.
Was it just general cost of living, or no? Food was
Yeah, I think it was general cost of living.
Yeah.
Prices.
the nightlife. Nightlife.
Nightlife.
Life.
Yeah.
Birmingham.
Nope. So tell us, like, in your experience, like Birmingham versus in Budapest, which one do you think each city does? Like what do you think each city does better than the other?
Of those categories,
Or just in general
stuff.
Yeah.
So I do have to give the disclaimer that I've only lived in Alabama for like 10 months of my whole life. So
Yeah.
I'm not like a super.
You only lived here for 10 months.
Yeah, I moved here in August and I left in June.
That's crazy, actually.
I know. So that's also, yeah, anyway.
Including sabbaticals?
It's not all bad that people from the South are really, really nice. Like, I meet people at Redeemer that are so nice to me, and I'm like, you don't know me from Adam, but you're just like really nice, and it's lovely. And it's not what I'm used to in Hungary. Okay, Birmingham, Budapest. Obviously public transportation. I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I think all of America is like not great at public. Like, we should be better at it. I can't think of a city that I'm like, oh, they're killing it. New York City sucks.
Yeah.
DC has like a clean metro.
I was going to say DC's clean.
Yeah.
But,
Chicago has something, but I don't know.
Never used it.
But like,
I think New York's
Boston's
just kind
no,
of
this is
Okay,
a crazy
train.
thing though. Like in Charlotte, like this is a crazy thing that I feel sad for like people that move to America and they don't have a car and they have to take like a bus to work.
Yeah.
And it takes like an hour and a half, but each way. I'm like, that's horrible.
You know what I learned the other day? Pittsburgh has an underground subway. It was one of the first ones in America.
Really?
There's 3 lines in the whole city. It's crazy.
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh is like the size of Birmingham. I think it's a little bit. I think it's like probably a little bit bigger,
The
but it's
Pittsburgh
still kind of
Steelers.
crazy.
Have you been to Pittsburgh?
No, I've heard it's really cool.
Because my sister and I went to Pittsburgh and we were like, oh, it's like Budapest.
Really?
No
Because
way.
there's a river
There's-
and
Oh,
there's
yeah.
like bridges along the river.
Chattanooga.
Chattanooga.
It looks really cool because it's like these concrete walls up the river,
That's-
like all
Yeah.
along the side.
You've
and
been
then
to Pittsburgh before?
I have been to
Dude,
Pittsburgh.
you have been
No way.
genuinely so
But
many
Chattanooga
places.
is not like Budapest because
No.
Chattanooga's granola.
Wait,
That's
it's
fair.
identical?
But Pittsburgh has, you know how Budapest, like the parks had this like overgrown, like let wildlife do what it wants to feel?
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh kind of has that.
Mm.
Where they're like vines growing up concrete walls and like it's just a little unkempt, but in like a cool grungy way.
Heinz is from Pittsburgh. The
Heinz.
ketchup. Yep.
Yeah. Heinz Field. That's the name of the Steelers Stadium.
Ketchup is from Pittsburgh. Did you meet him?
Ketchup is from Pittsburgh.
They
This is
made-
sick. They literally,
they
dude,
made ketchup.
Pittsburgh is just Chattanooga. They have the freaking railway.
So Pittsburgh is like where these two major rivers merge. So it was a major trading.
That's kinda sick.
The pits and
port
the Berg.
back in the Industrial Revolution days.
Budapest joke.
So
That's
sick.
kind of
Pits
cool.
and the Berg.
The
That's really
pizza and
cool.
the
The
beer.
Scylla
place.
and the
Pittsburgh,
Delphia.
Chattanooga, Budapest, all sister cities.
Right.
Yep.
I wish.
I
public
think I would
transit's
say I agree
insane.
with you guys from your podcast. The food here is better than in Hungary.
I agree. Have you had some good sweatpants Mexican since you've been here yet?
I went to Taco More Loco 2 nights in a row,
Oh yeah. Come on.
and I've been to Saw's.
Yeah.
Saw's is gas. Moe's barbecue underrated though. I'll say it.
Do you want to? I mean, it's not really a story, but I know when you. The first year they came to Budapest, I like recommended a Mexican place for them to go,
Oh gosh.
and it was just really
Still
bad.
Something gringos.
Did you go to
Just go
Taco? Have you
Gringos
been to
Amigos.
Taco yet?
Yeah.
I've never been to that
place
place.
was
it's
fire.
I
so
know.
yummy.
But Steven said his taco was falling apart.
It was. It fell
Yeah,
off
I mean,
completely
it's
He
apart.
like-
got a
Dude, Myers got a
corn-
freaking dessert taco. That sounded amazing.
It was so yummy.
Do you like hummus bar? This is a side note.
Yeah, I do.
I really liked hummus bar.
I think it's like kava. People seem to treat it like kava.
I
as we
wouldn't
do here.
compare it to kava personally, but
Okay, how do you explain Alabama to Europeans?
it doesn't come up very often
Fair.
because I'm not from here, so I don't say I'm from Alabama. I say I'm from Virginia,
Yeah.
Sure.
and then they don't know what Virginia is,
Right.
so then I say Washington D.C. and they're like, "Oh yeah, Trump."
Like, oh yeah, the capital.
I'm like, "Do you know Washington D.C.?" And then if they don't know Washington D.C., I don't really know where to go from there. I'm like, "Okay, there's an ocean between here
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that other continent,
I was
the
gonna
Atlantic."
say you could say like New York, Florida. They might know those.
People
and
know
it's like
Florida.
halfway
No,
in between.
Actually, if they don't know D.C., I'd probably say like New York City,
yeah.
and then
I become so.
which has nothing to do with Virginia.
Richmond and New York
I
City.
do. I do. I go to cultural stuff so fast. I'm like, Oh, like, do you know like Mr. Beast and like bikinis? That's like kind of America.
Bikinis.
Mr. Beast and bikinis.
Mr. Beast bikinis and like chocolate. That's kind of America vibes.
Yep.
Mr. Beast.
Hey, dude, literally the first
Everywhere
thing,
in America is like Mr. Beast.
the first thing that the freaking Hungarian high schoolers asked us was, do we know Mr. Beast? Because he's just like so American.
Actually, it's really funny to like hear what other people think about America, like what comes into their mind.
Oh, yeah.
You know, which I don't know. I think like in Ukraine growing up, the little kids, because a lot of Europe grows up watching American television. So probably if someone doesn't really know anything about America, all their ideas probably came from Friends and Seinfeld.
Yep.
Yeah. Honestly, pretty
bad.
spot on.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Honestly,
Our lives are like Seinfeld.
if you watch like YouTube, you probably get a better like understanding of what lives are like. Dude, this past week at the lake, we watched Ryan Trahan.
Fascinating.
He's doing 50 states in 50 days, and if you want to know what I feel like the idealistic life of like a Gen Alpha like TikTok kid is like Ryan Trahan's life.
Yeah.
It was like they just like vlog all day about nothing, and billions of people watch. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it's kind of nuts too. Whenever I was in Budapest as well, we were talking to the kids, and they like learned English because they watch YouTube. Like that's how they learned
totally.
English. It's
That's
because
so interesting, dude.
they like learn just by ear. Like some of them like don't. They like need to learn how to like read and write and in English, but a lot of them would just like learn a few phrases, and then they just watch so much YouTube. And some of their motives for learning English was literally because they wanted to watch more YouTube, which I was like, wow, that is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it is very, very interesting to me how there's a lot of people who like want to come to America, but don't ever like it's like absurd to them that they would ever want to live here. Whereas I feel like when Americans talk about Europe, they're like, oh yeah, I for sure live there for a little bit. But also I feel like it's, I don't know. Anyways.
So take us from, Steven said the craziest part of your life is the transition to Alabama, and Alabama was 10 months. Take us from Alabama to Budapest.
Hungary.
Like how it felt internally, or just
No,
like
like
how
how
it
did that
happened?
happen? Yeah. Or how you felt.
Yeah.
Or how did it happen?
My parents. So okay, no, I don't want to start with that. I basically got recruited to join a team to work with TCKs in Budapest.
Okay.
And I was
What
like,
were you doing?
I'm a
Why did you
TCK,
come
I can do
here?
that. Oh yeah, I came here with AmeriCorps, and I did a program called Impact Alabama. And
Well,
we
this
like
is where you did insurance and stuff, right? Or not insurance. What'd you do?
taxes.
Taxes, yeah.
So we did a variety of initiatives to like help under-resourced families and individuals all over the state.
Yeah.
So I like tested kids' eyes for vision problems, early onset vision problems, and helped people with their taxes. And I filmed some documentaries at the University of Alabama.
No way.
So I learned how to like put a lapel mic on someone
Yeah.
and make a video and edit it.
Cool.
And put like background music on
Yeah.
it and all that stuff. It was cool. We made like, would you call that a biopic if it was like a 12-minute video about a person?
Yeah.
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 So we made like little biopics of students studying at UA. I don't know what you guys say.
UA. People say that.
UA. Who are like living on or right above the poverty line and studying. Because
Yeah.
Well,
the guy that started the initiative, his whole thing is like, people should be able to go to their state school. Like
Yeah.
there should be no challenges or barriers to getting a college education at a public state
Yeah.
school in
Yeah.
your own
Yeah.
state. So we were interviewing people who were like studying really hard and had a job and still couldn't afford the rest of their tuition fees.
yeah.
And then at the end of our like the process, they would get like the money to pay for their whatever their remaining balance was for that semester. They got a scholarship to help them.
Well,
Sick.
Because you can't register for classes until you've finished paying the fees of the previous semester. So they will tell you like you can't start yet because you haven't finished paying for it.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting experience. And the tax thing was interesting. My tax site was in Dothan. So
Yep.
for like 2.5 months, I drove to Dothan on Wednesday mornings and stayed there till Saturday night.
Peanut Festival.
Yep.
Middle of nowhere.
And then
What did you think of Tuscaloosa?
the main thing that stands out about Tuscaloosa is like the huge sorority houses.
Yeah.
It's just like, whoa.
It's a spectacle.
This is crazy. But like I never went to a football game or anything. I think I went to Tuscaloosa like twice.
It's a sweaty town.
Yeah, it's pretty. The campus is pretty.
Yeah, the one of the sorority houses, this is the funnest fact about Tuscaloosa in my opinion. The Phi Mu house down there is white, and they pay a super expensive fee. I don't know how much it is every year to the university because the only white building on campus is supposed to be the president's place, but they like want their house white too, so they pay like a ton of money, like the fine to keep it white. Pretty crazy.
Interesting.
Alabama sorority.
So how did you get recruited to help TCKs?
It's not that interesting, but I can tell the story. Yeah. So when I grew up, my parents' mission is Campus Crusade. It's really, really big. There's like 20,000 staff all over the world.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of families and kids. And so they started a ministry to care for the kids of the families.
Your parents did?
No, not my parents.
Just Campus Crusade.
Somebody in crew who had kids that was like, there's no one caring for our teenagers who are like growing up in Spain. And so it's kind of like staff care because the whole point is like, if you move overseas and your kids are not doing well, you basically have to leave. Like if they're not doing well, like mentally, emotionally, socially, educationally. So they started that in like 2003 or something. And then I was like a recipient of that ministry as a kid. So like I had people come and visit me in Ukraine and like bring candy from America and just like ask me about my life. And then I went on a trip in high school to South Africa with them. And then I went on 2 trips in college. That's what I did in my summers in college. And so then they sent out just like a general email to everyone that was like involved in that ministry. Like, we're starting a team in Budapest. Would you consider joining? And at first I said no. I mean, in my head, I said no. I was like, someone will do that. That's awesome. But not me.
Yeah.
And then it was really through like a lot of the programming at Redeemer that I started to consider going overseas. So I got that email in like March. I applied. I got accepted. I said no. And then a month later, I called them and I was like, I really want to come. Can I come?
Yeah.
When did you start going to Redeemer?
I started going in 2017, I believe.
Like fall or spring? Do you remember?
It's a blurry time. I don't know.
Because I also started going in 2017. That's why I asked.
Yeah, I mean, like, that was, no, it's 2017.
Wait, were you what year in college were you?
That would have been your freshman year. No, sophomore year. Freshman, sophomore.
Actually, take that back. It would have been
Anyway.
2018 spring was when I started going. So I went. Like I went. I mean, I don't know how y'all's freshman year of college was, but like I wasn't really into church.
Church hop.
Like I was into church because I went to Sanford, but like I wasn't like personally super interested in church. And but I remember me and my high school girlfriend, we broke up Christmas of my sophomore year.
Ooh,
and then
Merry Christmas, 2 Christmases.
Yeah. And then my second semester sophomore year, that was when I would start. That's when I started getting more interested in church. I'll say that. Story for another day.
Locking in. That's when you started locking in.
And one day when I write my own version of Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey, you'll get to hear all about it.
Green Lights by Stephen McConaughey.
Stephen McConaughey. So next time I do a Strava run in Austin, that's what I'm going to name the Strava run. Yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah, it's pretty nuts that, you go over there and then, a few years later, you get an email from, I guess, somebody on the missions team.
I did have some interesting perspective today because a girl, my friend, teaches in Hungary. Her family lives in Huntsville. And her sister drove down today from Huntsville for church. And we had lunch together after church.
Oh.
And her sister was like, her sister made a comment to my friend who lives in Hungary, like, you really like paved the way for our family. Like, she was like, you made me realize that I could go live overseas.
Wow.
Because you like did it
Sick.
first.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like kind of normal. My life is normal because I guess of the way I was raised.
Yeah.
But this girl that has probably, I don't know, obviously never lived overseas, maybe never visited anywhere outside of America, was like telling us at lunch, like, you guys don't realize how like cool and crazy what you do is.
Yeah.
And my friend who lives in Hungary, who moved there from Huntsville, was like, yeah, I thought I would never go overseas without like a husband because I thought it's like dangerous to like be a woman overseas. And I was like, oh, interesting. That never crossed my mind. That was not part of my decision of moving overseas.
Yeah.
Maybe to some countries it would be.
But Hungary is like,
not for like Europe.
On a small scale, like my family has, no one in my immediate family has never gone out of the country for anything other than like Mexico. Like ever.
Yeah.
So like Cuba was like, what the heck are you doing? Budapest was like, I know that song.
They're like, where are you going?
Yeah, they're like, what are you, like, that's insane. So it definitely, like, people, the American mind, like, can be
I do
broadened.
think, like, that's kind of my perspective on short-term missions is that I do think it's important for people to travel abroad to open up their mind to how big the world is.
Yeah.
And you might as well do it in a context where you're also, like, giving to the community that you're being a part of for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And I think God uses that to open up people's minds to the possibility of like permanently living somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like your sister.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
Hey, dude. Chloe. Finna live with Becca all summer long next year.
Freaking
It's gonna be crazy.
It's kind of electric.
It's also actually my other sister Ansley. I don't know if you've met her yet, but she is in school getting a counseling degree, and she wants to like work with missionary kids. And stuff
Oh,
like that.
okay. I thought she wanted to come counsel our college students who have like no mental health services in Budapest.
Perhaps.
Let's talk
I
about
mean,
that.
that's pretty much the same
sometime.
thing.
Yeah.
But
Ansley probably kill it in Budapest. Or in Connor.
Yeah.
well, I think the moral of the story today is take the leap. Go for
Do
it. Send it.
Take the leap. You'll always look back and
Get on that plane.
just hate
do the
Alabama.
thing that you're scared of.
If the leap is coming to Birmingham,
yeah.
definitely take the leap.
Definitely. And
It'll
DM us, and we'll be your friends.
Kind of like what is it? Shoot for the stars, and you might hit the. Or no, aim,
Shoot for the
Shoot
moon, you
for-
might land in the stars.
That's like
If you miss, you
shoot for Birmingham, you'll end up in the stars.
If actually, that is a WOM promise that we can make. If you like listen to WOM and it's part of the reason you moved to Birmingham and you actually moved to Birmingham, you can be on the podcast 100%.
Yes.
Anyone can be on. That is actually great.
If you're listening,
Vincent moves to Budapest, Birmingham.
Oh my gosh.
That would be
Vincent, if
amazing.
you moved to Birmingham, I'd sleep.
You can be
You
a
not only
permanent
would-
co-host.
Not only would we live together, I would want to sleep in the same bed as you. every single
He's gonna like be like, I can,
oh my gosh!
I didn't
I don't know.
I didn't know he was like that. I didn't know he was like that.
Oh, that's funny as.
It's funny
Oh,
as.
yes.
Hey, well, Becca, I feel like it's been so cool to pick apart this mind of yours. That I feel like today we've spent a lot of times. You know, if down here is your life, and then this in this, if this podcast was a coffee percolator, I feel like the boiling water has percolated just great things over into the coffee pot, and you know it's gonna be really fun getting to re-listen to this, and I've really enjoyed getting to hear more about your life and you know your experience going throughout Virginia and then Ukraine, then Virginia and then Ukraine, and then Virginia and then Hungary for Christmas break, and then Birmingham. And then now back to Hungary again. So
And also, South Africa was somewhere in there.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, best to close, unless there's any other
Okay.
remarks. Best Richmond coffee shop,
Oh,
best Birmingham coffee shop, best Budapest coffee shop.
I don't think I'm the best person to ask. Okay.
You
The
are.
best Richmond coffee shop is called Blanchard's. They have a few locations. It's really good. Check it out
Sick.
if you're in Richmond. My friend used to work there, but doesn't anymore. Fun story. Cool story, bro. Blanchard's. Yep. And then here, this is really a scary thing to say in this room. I don't know. I did go to Whammy this week. Woo!
Just
Wow.
Shout out to Whammy.
How was it? Was it tasty?
Never mind. Cut that part out. I didn't get a coffee there.
Oh,
Sorry, I got
just went.
something else, but I got a sticker. Okay. Birmingham. I need to think about it. Budapest. My favorite is. Have you guys Did contact come up on your list? Like any research?
It did.
I was saying
We
I heard
didn't
It's
that.
go.
like the word contact, but the C's are K's.
Case. Contact.
Oh wait,
It was funny
We
because
went
is
to
that not the one?
We went to
it's
Flow.
like tiny on a little alley in a little alleyway. It's cool.
Wait, what's the one we met at? Oh, I don't think that's contact. The one we met at that had the little courtyard.
My favorite coffee shop in Budapest is Kelet, the one with all the books on the walls, the bookshelves.
Yeah, yeah.
Where we
That
went
part
after
is
hummus
dope.
bar. Yeah, the coffee is good. Like they know what they're doing with coffee, but also just like the vibes.
Good vibe.
Yeah.
Did you go to Flow?
I didn't know you guys had such a bad experience
Dude.
at Flow. I've been there before, but I'm not a coffee connoisseur, so I can't be like, oh, their flat white is better than their flat white. But contact,
Like Vincent.
yeah, like you guys know about his Instagram.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, but you were talking about like how they don't do like syrups and like sugar and stuff. Contact, literally, you walk in the door, they have on their wall like no milk, no sugar, no flavors. Like don't even ask. Like
That's crazy.
it's really
That's actually so funny.
bougie coffee people.
I wonder if like some blokes like us showed up and we ran a joint. We like had a seasonal menu
Oh
with
my
like
God.
peaches and stuff.
There is a place doing like really social media influencer things. It's called Flatty,
Nice.
FLATTY,
They're making like
and they make like
strawberry fields,
s'mores.
matchas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like
Sayla's got flavors out the wazoo.
It's true.
Do you
Yeah.
have a Birmingham
Yeah.
spot? Or
I don't think so. I think I just like to try as many places as
What do you
I
think
can
is your
when I'm
favorite
in town.
Birmingham like business, like food, coffee, whatever? Or where'd you go to lunch today?
I need to think about this. Birmingham spots. I like going to breweries here.
yeah.
I love, like, I went to Back 40
Back
yesterday.
40.
I'm
Back 40 's
trying to go to,
fantastic.
like, Trim Tab, Ghost Train. Is Ghost Train still a thing?
Ghost Train got bought out by Cava,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think.
I don't know that.
I've been to, like, 3 breweries this week.
Let's
That's,
go.
like, what I like to do when I'm in town. And also in the summer, obviously.
Do you have a Bama Mosa?
No, I saw that. I was at Cava yesterday. I was like, what is that?
It's super
I think I said
yummy.
something weird. I was like, what's Bama Mosa?
Mimosa. Mimosa.
But she described it to me, and I was like, ew, no, thank you. It's like champagne with orange. It's a mimosa.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So I went to Cahaba yesterday. No, Back 40. Sorry, Back 40. And I asked for the Hefeweizen, and they were like, and the bartender was like, I can get that for you, but sometimes I mix it with like a sour beer. I was like, okay, sure, go for it. She's like, do you want to try it? I was like, no, I trust you. Just do it. It's fine.
It was okay.
But they have a truck stop, which is like an amber ale.
Yes.
Very, very good.
Yes.
So those are my Birmingham spots.
Love it.
You get the
Love it.
missionary on the podcast, and she talks about her favorite breweries.
Dude, I had a throwback the other day with me and Brandon Lauer were talking about when it was in 2012 was when the rule went up, or the law went up, where you could start brewing your own beer in Birmingham. Wow. Like the city of Birmingham used to not be able to. And then like right then, that's whenever Good People opened up.
That's
and
so
I like
sick.
vividly remember seeing Good People and what was the other one that was like really popular at the very beginning? I think it was Kava. Like popped up and people watched the USA soccer games there during the 2012 or 2014 World Cup. I can't remember when the World Cup was.
Yeah.
But I was like that was one of those few times I was like, Birmingham downtown is so cool.
Good people is so legendary, man. Another thing that we should get into in another episode is I don't like beer at all. I'm really trying to convince myself I do, and I just taste like
Dirty
bad.
water.
I had a Bush Apple on July 4th,
That's not a beer.
and it was so good. And I was like, I wish beer tasted like this. But if I look at beer and literally almost anything else, lemonade or whatever the heck, I'm picking that.
Yep.
Because it tastes good.
When I lived, I have a fun story about Seeds.
Okay.
When I lived here, they were opening their second location.
Yeah.
Which I don't.
Lakeview?
Yeah. And it was like the opening day, and they were having a giveaway. So like, they gave like the 10th customer or something, and then they gave the 25th customer, and I think they were giving the 100th customer a like Seeds travel mug.
Oh, cool.
And I was watching the Instagram stories all day long, and I was having a bad day. And my office was in Woodlawn, so it's not that far.
Yeah.
And I was just like tracking it, and I was like, okay, I gotta time this really carefully, so I will be the 100th customer. And I went in, and I was like, I walk in, and I was like, I think I was like getting gas, right near Cahaba Brewing, and watching the Instagram, and they were like on customer 86. So I was like, okay, this is like the time. I should head over there soon. So anyway, I walk in, and I was like, I really want to be the 100th customer. And they just were like, well, you just got to order and see. And I was. And I got the mug.
That's
so
crazy.
I have my little Seeds mug in Budapest, and I have a trim tab glass. And those are my little like
that's awesome.
Birmingham
trinkets.
things. Yeah.
There is Seeds and
Fantastic.
Trim Tab merch in Hungary. That's
Wow.
actually a crazy fact.
Yeah.
Seeds mirror mug all the way in
That's fun.
Hungary. I got a Seeds mug the other day. It's great. Yeah, those are good. Those are good. I mean, I can't speak for the Richmond coffee shops, but I can speak for the Budapest one and the Birmingham one. And those are great. So, well, thank you so much for being on, Bekah. This has been absolute. This has been absolute peach.
Thanks
What
for
a
having me.
treat.
This has been enjoyable as
Enjoyable eyes.
Budaham.
Budaham always. Birmingham Pest. I kind of like that.
Sounds like
Budaham.
a music festival.
Birmingham
Kinda
Pest.
does.
Birmingham Pest.
Did you hear
Burning
1995
Man?
is going to be a Birmingham Pest?
You've been to Burning Man? Have you been to
Birmingham
Pest?
Birmingham Pest.
Birmingham. So that's what they should call freaking Sauce Fest.
Birmingham.
Well, today we're going to wrap it up with some good old artificially intelligentified music. This one's called The Wind Still Knows Our Name by the Velvet Sundown. Thank you so much for listening today, guys. I hope you feel enlightened on Budapest, Hungary, the life of Bekah Leary, and the fun that Myers, Jacob, and I have, considering this is our second Budapest episode in the span of 5 weeks. We love it. This is not only Birmingham Public Radio, this is now Budapest Public Radio as well.
Buddha.
Stickers are still alive.
Get a sticker.
Venmo me $5. Tell me which one you want, and it'll be yours at Whammy Coffee, our corporate sponsor of the podcast.
Let's go.
Be on the lookout. Mitch just texted me about a possible new T-shirt. So
Let's go.
if you've listened to hour and 26 minutes in the depths of this podcast, there's your
Sneak
what's that called?
preview.
Easter egg.
There's your Easter egg. All right, cheerio then.
Bye.
Have a great one.
The music is not real. It's not real. The music is not real. It's not.
Oh.